All right. So, as you can see on the thumbnail, this is all about alternate picking today. And obviously, if you have any other questions, you're welcome to come, ask whatever. But the reason why it's about alternate picking right now is because this alternate picking master course is on sale now during Black Week. So you get 50% off if you use the code Black Week. So if you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, here's the course. And basically, this course is very practical. You get the whole routine here. That's going to take you 90 to 100 minutes per day if you do it exactly as I outline it, which I highly recommend. And the reason why you want to practice that much for one technique is because to really get going and really improve a technique like alternate picking, you need to spend more time per day for a shorter time period. And the best analogy I can give you is this one. Think of it like doing push-ups. If you do 10,000 push-ups in 3 months as compared to 3 years, what will have the most impact on your physique? So you can do like 20 minutes of picking every day, and that will help you somewhat, but I don't think it will get you to the next level. And also, you don't need to practice picking this much forever, right? It will take you way less to maintain your technique than it takes you to get to the next level. And this is another thing my teacher here at GIT, Nick Nolan, taught an alternate picking course. In his experience, thousands of students, he said most students impress themselves after around 3 months of practicing alternate picking for 2 hours per day. And that's something I've seen myself as well. And also disclaimer here, if you can't do 2 hours, do as much as you can. You will still improve your time, but it might take you longer to get there. And then basically you have this, how to discover your perfect picking motion and practice filters, all kinds of different things here. But here's the sort of meat of the whole course, which is the most important thing. So you have transition time, a routine for that, and basically looks like this. You have a video talking you through it and text to support it as well. And then you have the tabs, of course, and you have tabs in Guitar Pro as well. And then you go through the whole thing here. Like I said, it will take you between 90 to 100 minutes. And then you have an exercise library, which you can add on some specific things here. So you have a string crossing routine number 2. That's really effective to help you cross strings better. And then what I call the gateway to complete scale control, 3-string picking routine. It basically takes you over that hump to the 3rd string, because a lot of people are used to doing that, but getting to that 3rd string can be tricky. So, and once you can do that, generally it's not that difficult to continue that, right? Because once you can, what happens, why the 3rd string is so, and I'm talking about the 3rd string from any string here, right? So if you go from A to G, it's not about the D string here. But basically, when you have to go over more than 2 strings, you need to shift something in your right hand, right? And I highly recommend not doing this, where you stick it on the bridge. And don't move it, because then you're gonna get into a very steep angle up here, and then it's gonna change the sound. Some people do that though, but I wouldn't recommend it. So, but either way, you need to learn how to cross over that to that 3rd string, and when you can do that, you're generally gonna be in a good place to cross over as many strings as you want. Yeah, so that's that, and then a bit of practice techniques here, and then you get the entire. Basically, I shouldn't rename this because this course is renamed to the 3 notes per string speed system, but this is like a continuation or a variation on this course. So you get 2 additional routines here, and I can absolutely guarantee you, if you go through this course and do it as I explain, and then when you're done with it, you go through these two routines as well. First of all, you have material to practice picking for, 6 months. And if you actually do that, your picking technique will be completely changed for the better if you practice correctly. And that's the whole point of doing this, right? So yeah, go to check that out. Use the code BLACKWEEK and you get 50% off. And that's basically for the first 50 buys, and there's 29 spots left. So this sounds interesting. I would not wait. Right, now I can see the chat again. Let's see. Hey, Venelius, hello, I'm gonna follow this live and have my employee pay for it all. Yeah, great. See about right 2 months. Yeah, so Venelius has done, he hasn't done this course specifically, but he's done other things that I've taught in the practice room, the community, and you need time basically to get it together, and that's just the way it works, unfortunately. Oh my god, how loud do you practice? The daily workout 1 and 2, that's basically from a separate course that I included as a bonus. And actually I had a guy buy the Ultimate Picking course, this one, and then he bought the 300 per string speed system as well. So I refunded him. I haven't talked to him yet, but I refunded him that because basically that's the same course that he got as a bonus. That was my mistake. I should probably clarify that in the copy. Would probably be a good thing to put that in the copy for the actual course as well, that you get an additional course. But anyways, I refunded him right away. So yeah, you have so much stuff to practice when you have this. And as Venelius here, he's currently doing the sweep picking deep dive, which he's getting great results from, but he was very, very upset with how boring and how hard it was and sounded crappy, but he pushed through it and now he's getting results. So let's see. Hi John, I'm currently going through this course. One thing that confused me a bit is, am I correct to do the 6 main? Yes, exactly. So basically the daily workout 1 and 2, if you read it through, it says it all, right? It tells you exactly how to do daily workout number 1, and then when you go to daily workout number 2. And these two are actually a really good continuation because they don't take as much time. And the daily workout number 1 from the bonus one, if you decide to not do 1, 2, 3 and 2, 3, 4, it takes even less time, because I think it's the most important thing to focus on is 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. I think it's great to work on 2, 3, 4 as well, because that will, if you can do that, you will find that your hand is way more balanced. But in general, why 1, 2, 4 and 1, 3, 4 is more important is because when you play any scale, let's say I play Phrygian dominant scale here. If you can look at this is still 1, 3, 4 to my mind, and also to most people's brains, because if we remove the frets, right, it's just going to be a bit stretchier, right? And if you think about a violinist, for example, or a cellist or whatever, they don't have frets, so it doesn't really matter. If you can synchronize that, you shouldn't have any problems with this. So yeah, but that's great. And another thing to make sure when you do this, is it Tile? Is it Tyler or something? These YouTube usernames confuse me. Anyway, make sure that if you find that anything flies off from the fretboard, that's because you're tensing up somewhere in your left hand or fretting hand, right? Because this is not a natural position. So if you relax, your fingers will naturally be close to the fretboard. So, and this still happens to me. Kyle, all right, nice. This still happens to me, that my finger fly away. But then I know, like, okay, I'm not as relaxed as I should be. So basically, what you shouldn't do is try to do some convoluted exercise. I have seen this one. And that's cool and all, but I did that back in the day and got really good at it. And then when I went back to play again, hello, flying pinky. So it wasn't until I addressed the actual reason for the flying pinky, and that's the relaxation, or lack of. So that's super important. And you might think like, well, whatever, it looks kind of bad when it flies away, but apart from that, it doesn't matter. It matters in the sense that the timing is going to be harder to do, to get it right. If one finger is just flying off the whole time, it's going to be hard to get the same timing. And of course, alternate picking is all about timing. Well, I mean, everything you do on the guitar is about timing, but why people can't synchronize, get synchronization together, is because they can't do, get this correctly timed and then get this correctly timed, and then it should work. Actually, there's some old live clips with Paul Gilbert and Bruce Boyer in Razor X when they I don't remember the song, but it's one of the songs where they learned a solo, and basically they learn the same solo, and then Paul comes up behind Bruce, and then he does the right hand, and Bruce does the fretting. But that works is, they both know what to play. So that just goes to show you how important the rhythm is. Rocket Ship Phase 007. Hold on, I'm practicing the bridge section to All That Remains Empty Inside. Okay? Is that something with Jason Richardson then? Also, Kyle, remember that you can use the comments under each lesson each of the different parts of the course, and just comment there, and I'll get a notification, and I can help you if you have any issues. Or just join the practice room, and if you tell me I bought this course, of course I will help you. So. Well, that might make it easier then. Yeah, well, this is a Solar Ola's brand. The difference between alternate picking and economy picking. Well, if you take something like this, right? So you have just 2 notes per string pentatonic. So you got down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, or up, down, up, down. So that would be alternate picking. Basically, alternate picking is if you do strict alternate picking, you never do 2 downstrokes or 2 upstrokes in a row, right? But economy picking is instead where you take the same phrase and you go down, up, up. And what happens here, it's easy. I mean, it's not really easier in a way because, the timing can get kind of tricky because you can sort of slip. But if you get it to work, it's actually, it's kind of easier to get a more fluid sound, I feel, than doing that. So let's see. Once I've done a month or two of the daily ultimate picking masterclass, I want to work on sweeping and improving string muting. Which course should I look at next? I suggest. Are you part of the practice room, Kyle? The community, because I think you should check out. Let's see. Send the link. Oh, you are? All right. I put the link here anyway. But in that case, I would check out the deep dives in the premium. Because you have a sweep picking deep dive and legato deep dive, and they're all half-hour routines. And now I've gone through the first round there, so I'm going to keep adding. So I'm on the timing deep dive now, and it's going to be tapping deep dive next, and then I'm back to alternate picking, sweep picking, legato, and so on. So it's going to, eventually it's going to be, really built up for every technique, but it takes a while because each one takes a month, because it's very, I go through 4 parts for each and so on. But the point is that the sweep picking one is, you can ask Winelius here, it sounds horrible because you do a lot of this stuff. But that's for a reason, so you can get the articulation right, and you also the different things for the right hand to get that correct, because there's little to no point in practicing anything if you don't do it correctly. And I don't mean like however you pick, if you pick with your wrist or your forearm or with your nose, I don't care. But when you practice, it needs to be accurate, right? And obviously it needs to be consistent. So you can't like, oh, I'm working alternate picking, and then you go, just random all over the place. So, but other than that, you need to get things. There's certain things for sweep picking, for example, where you really need to get the rest strokes right. Otherwise, you're gonna have a very annoying time trying to get it up to any type of speed. But that's also, like Vanilla says, it's quite soul crushing but surprisingly effective. That's the thing, though. I'm of the belief that yes, you can probably do this by learning all your favorite music and flowers and rainbows at the same time. But I think that's a longer and potentially harder path, because if you put in, like, depending on how much time you have per day, but if you practice guitar for like, I don't know, 2-3 hours, if you put in half an hour on kind of boring and ugly sounding exercises, but they give you so much more technical ability, and you do that also for a limited time, you don't have to do it for the rest of your life, right? I think that trade-off is worth it, because it's kind of like if you want to get fit, you can go into the forest and climb trees and do pull-ups here and there, and you can do push-ups or whatever. Or you can go to the gym with a trainer who gives you exactly what you need to do to develop whatever you want to develop, and you can use specific machines, you can use free weights, whatever, but it's specified. And maybe it's like, well, I'm not out in nature and I'm not having fun. It's like, well, do you want to get your results, or are you that married to having fun all the time when you do something? For me, it's more a means to an end, right? I want to get to the real fun part where you can play the music that you want and improvise and whatever as quick as possible. So I'd rather do that than sit there and be frustrated and try to play like Cliffs of Dover for like 5 years, because the only time you practice any type of picking when it comes to pentatonics, it's that song, and now you start to hate it because you've heard it so many times, and it's not Eric Johnson's great version, it's your own shitty version. We're like, oh no, not today either. So I don't know. I think that's just a better approach. Yeah, but that's the thing, Carl. And also a lot of people misunderstand me sometimes and think like, oh, should I never try it fast? Of course you need to try it fast. I try things fast every day, right? But when I practice something, as when I repeat something, I do that at a tempo where I can focus on whatever I deem important for that technique. So for this thing, alternate picking, I want to make sure I get transition time. And that means that you move as quickly as possible from note to note. So the actual motion from note to note is as quick as possible. And also what I call finger choreography, where if you look at my index finger, I prepare that. And you know, I can't do that. Even at this tempo, I don't have the same control. And definitely not at that tempo. Even though, you know, it was clean, it won't give me the same benefit as doing it slower. But then when I've done that, I can, you know, play fast for fun. And then if I fuck something up, that's like, okay, whatever. Doesn't really matter, because all the good reps that I've done will be, you know, way it's going to be way more good reps in my brain from that day than bad reps. So that's the thing. But you still need to try, you know, work on your solos as well. But I don't think you should try. If you sit there and you try to play something fast and you're failing, like you're not hitting the right notes, it won't just magically happen. It's so I don't understand why so many people have a hard problem with, like a big problem with understanding that. They think somehow that, like, well, if I just do, you know, 10,000 really crappy reps, it will, you know, the skies will open up and angels will sing and the perfect rep will appear at the 10,001st time. You know, that would never happen. If you go to the gym and you do a deadlift, shitty deadlifts for 10,000 times, you probably have a broken back, but also you have ingrained something that doesn't really work, or a golf swing, or, you know, a kick or a punch or whatever. So that's the problem with practicing fast, I think. But you still need to try to go for it as well. But the thing is, if you're honest with yourself, do you know anyone, or even yourself, that their technique is bad because they haven't tried playing fast enough? They, you know, oh yeah, you know, Rob over there, his techniques really sucks because he always practices slow, so that's why his technique is so bad. It doesn't happen. I mean, maybe it does at some point, but I haven't seen it. So I should be careful about saying that can't happen. Yes, probably can happen. I mean, you can practice slow and do it in a bad way as well. So that's actually another thing, where slow is just the tempo where I can do those things that I talked about before, where I have control over the transition time, control over whatever, get the tone that I want and all that stuff. So you can still practice super slow and do it completely wrong. So yes, Vinelius, you like those people at the gym who's like, well, you know, when I do this weight and when I do this exercise, I always use 50 kilos. Like, okay, you don't think you should maybe try 55 next time? Nah, it's my weight. That's my weight. So yeah, but you know, it's interesting like how people misinterpret you sometimes. But I also put that on myself, because sometimes with yeah, exactly. The thing is, I think it's like it's my responsibility to communicate this clearly, and I've noticed since I've been teaching for so long, some things are so obvious to me that I can miss. You miss that sometimes. You miss like, well, I'd say do this, and then all of a sudden, like, what? Why did he do that? And then you realize, like, oh, okay, what I thought was obvious wasn't so obvious for this person. So I try to be mindful of that as well. But then you also have people who are like, I don't know, especially social media stuff where people kind of just want to misinterpret you and say like, well, actually, my favorite guitar player X did this and that worked for him, and that's great, but did it work for you? That's the problem, right? And that's another thing. If you do something, whatever I say that I think doesn't work well, like using the metronome and trying to push the speed that way, if that worked for you and you have like a perfect, great technique, great, keep doing that. And I'm not saying that in like a sort of a bitter, like, oh, but you're wrong. If that works for you, awesome, keep doing that. But if that hasn't worked for you or other things hasn't worked for you, maybe try doing it the way that I say, and maybe that will work for you, or maybe it won't. But I just think it's not like my way or the highway. It's just I can only teach what I know has worked for me and also for hundreds of students throughout the years, right? So, and also I just think it makes more sense. But yeah, I would say though that you can pick. So the most important thing when practicing picking, in my opinion, is getting the synchronization correct. And obviously you need to, get the string crossing correct as well. But I think most people who sound bad is because their synchronization is off, right? So they get this sort of gluggy sound, and that's something you need to really program with these slow reps and doing the transition time and yada yada. But your synchronization doesn't seem to be connected to how you pick, right? Because I've changed my picking throughout the years, and it's never been, my synchronization has been whatever it's been, right? And I've realized this as well, because I had a period when I did some flamenco stuff, and I was like, oh shit, it's gonna take me forever to be able to play anything with my fingers, and I haven't done it now in years. I can't do it either way, but what happened was that however fast I could play with my right hand, I could synchronize that with my left hand from pretty much from day one, trying to do this flamenco stuff. And I'm not, I wasn't fast at all in that regard, but still, to the fact that the as fast as I could do it with this hand, I could do it with this hand from no practice on that particular technique before, but a shit ton of working on the synchronization with picking. Exactly, Kyle. But if you look at someone like Paul Gilbert, for example, when he did recorded the first Razor X album, he held his pick something like this, like really weird 2-3 finger pick hold, and kind of strange, but it sounded amazing, of course. But then he wanted to change that because he saw Frank Gambale teaching at the school and other people, and he had a hard time sweeping with this technique, which is it's really strange actually trying to sweep like that. But he said it was within a few months where he basically went from doing this to doing the Paul Gilbert we all know and love today. And if his synchronization was stuck to however he held the pick, he would never been able to do that in a few months, right? Because it didn't takes way longer than that to develop the synchronization to the point that he has it. So there's a lot of this stuff where you don't need to worry so much about the pick motion for that sake. The synchronization, you need to program that. I'm no neuroscientist, obviously, but it must be some sort of area of our brain that governs the timing between our two hands to so if you work on that and you're getting your synchronization together, it's not going to be that sensitive to whatever pick motion you use. So that's why I'm very long-winded thing to say that you don't need to worry too much about building muscle memory with bad form. The only muscle memory you should worry about when it comes to this is whether or not you're synchronized. Because and also it's a lot of people like, well, actually, you know, it's super important to, you know, the pick hand is so important and blah blah blah. But most people that say that, they can probably pick way faster with a single string than they can synchronize, and that's a good sort of test for you. Like if you're worried about pick slanting and all that stuff, but you can't synchronize your hand on a single string with, you know, as close to your top speed with the right hand as possible, you still have you know, synchronization things to figure out. Doesn't mean that you don't need to work on string crossing as well, but most guitar licks will have more strings, more notes per string than string crossing. So if you take this classic sixes, basically we have 3 notes here, but once I get to the second string, 3, and then I restart it, so I get 6 notes. So basically from the point of the B string, it's every 6 notes or every 7 notes we're gonna change the string. So if your synchronization sucks, so you can't do that, but you're fucking string crossing Jedi, you will still sound sloppy, because it's only every 6 notes that you're gonna sound clean, right? You're really nailing that string change, but whenever you're on a single string, you're like, you don't want to do that. But let's say the opposite, you really suck at string crossing. You can get there, but once you're on a string, you can synchronize forever, right? Then you'll be better off. But obviously you want both. But just to sort of illustrate that it's quite, it's very important to get synchronization together. So. And also even doing that, which is not really a lick. Hi Ryan. Even just a scale like that, I'm still, you know, I have 3 notes and then we shift. So depending how you want to count this, but if we count it as 4 notes, 75% of the time we're on 1 string. So I think it's important to get the synchronization down. More coffee. So yeah. But again, anyone who's in here now, I'm just trying to get you to understand that it's Black Week right now, and this course is. Actually, here's the community. You can check this out. I have a link in the chat. Completely free to join, and then you have a classroom. All kinds of stuff here, which some of it is free, some of it is not. But anyone can check this one out though, Alternate Picking Deep Dive. That's the free version. Yeah, so do that. But this course is now 50% off if you use the code Black Week, and you have a link and everything in the description. And it gives you a daily practice routine that takes quite a lot of time, but you need a lot of time to really get your picking up to the next level. So see it as like an investment, like, okay, for the next 3 to 6 months, I'm really gonna dive deep into the picking stuff. And then you can, you know, if you're happy with that, you can let it go and just sort of cruise. But then you know also like, oh, okay, so if I really want to improve my whatever area of your playing, if I go deep into that, it's gonna go way quicker. And sometimes it's one of the things you have to do to get to the next level, because it doesn't really work to work on one area of your playing for 15 minutes a day for 20 years and think you're gonna be really good at it. You're much better taking, you know, an hour or 2 hours and really focusing on one area, but doing it for less time. So you get more volume in over that time, and that will push you to the next level. So, yeah. Nice, okay, let's see. So the thing is with the practice room, I need to let you in manually because there's so many scummy marketers who want to come in and DM people. So I'm not gonna let them do that. So if you don't get in right away, don't worry about it. If it's not obvious that you're a marketing person, you're gonna get in. So it's just 2 questions. It's very, very easy to pass. And obviously you can ask any questions you want here. You don't need to, doesn't have to be about picking. Interesting thing, I listened to a seminar that very, very cool guy, Guillermo, sent me. It was a seminar with Steve Morse, and also was a Vinnie Moore one and a Frank Gambale one. Awesome. I listened to a lot of guitar seminars yesterday. And Steve Morse mentioned something that I've never heard him talk about before, but he said that he firmly believes that if you practice, let's say, however long you practice per day, let's say you can practice 2 hours per day, you're gonna learn way quicker if you divide that into 2. So you do like a morning session for an hour, and then you do a night session or a session later in the day for 1 hour. So it doesn't have to be 1 hour. It can be, if you can do 90 minutes per day, then you do 45. If you can do an hour, you do 30 minutes. If you can do 16 hours, you do 8 hours. You know what I mean? So, and he was like adamant about this. And he said like, and this was in his experience, and this guy, you know, Steve Moore's pretty good. So I think that's a thing to consider if you have the, you know, opportunity to do it. But it makes sense though. He also said like, well, you know, we eat more than once a day most of the time, you know. So it's a lot of things we do. Because he also said like, well, if not, like, well, why wouldn't you just practice for 20 hours one day and then you don't pick up the guitar for a week? And we're kind of like, oh, obviously that doesn't work. So we want to do things, you know, space it out a bit. And I think one of the reasons why it might help more is they know that from learning, you learn the most at the beginning and at the end of something you're studying. So if you only study in 1 block, you only get that, you know, those 2 things. But if you study in 2 blocks, you get that effect twice. So double the thing. So I find all this interesting, but that's why I have glasses. I'm a nerd. How do I get faster at alternate picking in 2 weeks? What's the stress, dude? I absolutely think you can get, you know, depends on what you mean. Like, do you mean just faster as raw speed, or do you mean like synchronizing things? So. Yeah, Kyle, that's very true. And also there's a really good book called Peak. I can write it here. It's written by a Swedish dude actually, but he was a professor at a researcher at a college in Florida. Anders Ericsson, and that's the guy that Malcolm Gladwell sort of took the thing like the 10,000 hour rule, which is actually not a thing. That's just, you know, basically he rounded things up and down there and made a case for it. But but this guy's research saw that the initial studies they did was on a music school in Germany where they had like a really renowned classical school, and they looked at violinists, and they had three groups: the group that would become teachers, the group that would be sitting in orchestras, and the group that would be soloists. And they could see that the soloists had practiced way more than the other groups, right? But they also saw that the soloists, they tended to they took more naps, and also they kind of did this thing where they would go, they wouldn't do more than 4 hours a day generally, because it's and that's something they've seen like with deliberate practice, meaning that when you're really focused and like, you know, you're trying to be aware of everything, you correct any mistakes, and you're really like high quality practice. I'm not too sure about these limits because I think it's like different from person to person, and you probably can get better at it as well. But in general, it was like it's hard to do more than 4 hours a day of that sort of intense practice. And they saw that these violinists, they generally did 2 to 3 90-minute sessions throughout the day. So again, they did this sort of spaced practice. So that's exactly, you know, and I heard that as well, Kyle, about, you know, before sleep. But I think it doesn't have to be sleeping, you know, proper sleep for the night. It can be a nap as well. So your brain really likes that stuff. It's also why it's kind of pointless if you sit there and try to learn something and you get to a point where like, it doesn't work. Don't push it then. Just do a few perfect reps, leave it, take a nap if you can, and then come back to it, and you will find that you actually get better at it. So yeah, because they've seen in brain scans on musicians that have really dirty minds. First off, secondly, we have a lot more. Basically, it's this substance called myelin that helps the signals to pass quicker in your brain for tasks you've been doing before. Exactly, need time to defrag, exactly. But they've seen that pianists, for example, they have way more developed sections of the brain that pertains to motor control, because obviously if you play piano, you need to have a really good independence in all 10 fingers. But funnily enough, when they actually did this test where they took people who didn't play a piano and they took classical like soloists, and they tried to see like, okay, who can do this, tapping pattern the fastest on a table, like just raw speed. And they didn't see much of a difference in normal people and the pianist, but they could see a way bigger difference though in the control in the pianist, right? But hard to say pianist without saying penis, but anyway, basically they saw that the actual raw speed wasn't that big of a difference, and that handily plays into the way that I like to practice. Like, I don't really worry about the raw speed, because I think if you take sweep picking, for example, anyone can learn to do this fairly quickly, but trying to coordinate that with actual notes, that takes practice. But that's not because you can't do this quickly or you can't flop your fingers around. It's that you need to be able to get it together, and that's where this slow and accurate practice comes in. Anyway. Actually, another thing, I talked about this quite a lot, is about practicing without an amp. I don't know if you can hear that at all, but basically, hey Vinny, yeah, you're up early. Holy shit, dude! It's like 4:15 in Jersey. What are you doing, man? Uh, anyway, so this Vinnie Moore seminar that I heard, and he got asked this, and I made a video. Hopefully, this comes through. Uh,
And to be honest, I practice at home like 100% of the time without an amp. I don't even think I have an amp in my house right now. I've always played with just the guitar, so I've come up with new things with no amp at all. But the distortion definitely has an influence on the way you play because it makes the notes sting and sing a little more.
so that's quite interesting to me. What you bathroom? Okay. uh, so that was Vinnie Moore, and I've heard Paul Gilbert talk about basically most of his technique practice. He would be sitting in front of the TV, unplugged, and then when he got to the rehearsal space, the only thing he had to do was like he had to lighten up a bit on the picking because let the amp do more of the work. I know Yngwie played a lot, you know, without any type of amplification. You know, because he would be playing on the subway and all kinds of weird shit, but because he basically never did not have a guitar around his neck. But my point is that practicing without any amp or anything like that, you really get to hear what the string sounds like and how you actually sound. Because if I do this, it still kind of sounds like lead guitar, right? So we get that harmonic going. And then when you just add the amp, it will sound even better, hopefully. But a lot of people just try to buy a new pedal instead of like actually trying to figure out like, what does it actually sound like when I play? And it's not about playing an acoustic guitar, that's great practice too, but just on your own electric guitar, just practice without any type of amplification. It's really good for your technique. And yes, you kind of lose a bit of that like muting stuff, so you might find that like, oh shit, you know, I didn't realize that this starts to. It's not about hitting the note when you play, but if you play something, especially at a loud volume, you get this sympathetic ringing that's gonna build up over time if you don't mute properly. But everything else is great when you do this without an amp because you can really hear what's a good sound, like what, because you might find like, why am I picking so fucking hard when I play, and then like, what's the actual sound I'm going for here? So that's a tip for you, just a tip. Any questions? Sky, any good exercise for someone turning to learn alt picking just picked up guitar 5 months ago? Yes, if you new to alternate picking or just new to guitar, I would highly suggest you go check out, and this is completely free. You could get the course, but I think that might be a bit too much for you. But if you go here, sign up, it's completely free. I just need to let you in, so don't freak out if you don't get in right away. And then you go to the class. I can't fucking show you. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Set it up. Thanks, Dixie. Appreciate that. Doing my best. I'm half a cup of coffee right now. So I might be a bit like... let's see. So you go here, practice room, and I'm in dark mode, so it might look different for you. But anyway, so you sign up here. It's gonna look different for you because, you know, I'm behind the scenes here. Free, as it says. 861 members. How about that? And then when you get in, you're gonna see this, blah de blah. But then you go to the classroom. Ta-da! And then you have a bunch of stuff here that I'm trying to sell you on. But then you go to this one, and this is the top one you want to go to, because if you go to this one, these are paid versions of this, but you want to go to this one, which I give away for free because I'm such a nice guy. But basically, I have a course here where getting your picking together. So basically, the whole point of this one is nailing the shapes and cleaning up your technique. So you get a 30-minute daily practice routine, and then that's basically outlined in these 4 parts. And then you have a part 5 variations, and that's where you add that later, if at all, depending on your level. So what you get out from this is you're gonna learn all 7 3-note per string shapes, the major one, but that's the same shapes for all the related modes. And then you have a technique basics section here. So go here, basically. You can't go wrong with that. And also, pretty good price since it's free. Yeah, dark mode, it's so much better. Up tempo with the long bend. Is it that Kiesel soundtrack thing or Kiesel competition thing? Yeah. It's funny, like when I was composing music for Epidemic Sound, this was around 2011, 2012. I actually played on quite a big movie through a friend, but I wasn't part of the Hollywood Musicians Union, so I wasn't able to get credit for it. But at that time, I wasn't even, you know, I had a break from guitar, and I remember having to like sit down and practice to really, you know, do a good job. So I sat and practiced acoustic guitar for like a day, and like just did this. Then I did that solo because I've done the solo for the demo, and that was like a year before, and he wasn't sure if it's gonna be, you know, be in the movie or not. And then it happened that it would be in the movie, and then he wanted the same solo, but I had to pitch down the track so the actors could sing they couldn't sing as high, and it didn't really work a minor third down. So I had to relearn my own improvised solo, which was a ball ache and a half. But I did that. But it was kind of frustrating when I got into the guitar again because I couldn't. That would be quite a cool thing to be able to say, like, yeah, I did this, but I can say it now. Well, I probably can't say it now because then you might get into trouble. I don't think anyone cares at this point, though. But it's. I can tell you on the side, Vinelius. It's yeah, it just turned out to be like in a very prominent part of the movie, and it's like, fucking hell, that will never happen again. So, but anyway, but the thing is, I've seen videos online where that part of the movie is, and see people like, who's that? Oh, it must be this guy, it must be this guy. And even if I would be like, oh fuck it, it's been so long now, so I'm gonna use it anyway as like my promo thing. Since I'm not on it officially anywhere, people would just be like, oh, you're just fucking lying, which is kind of ridiculous. Vinelius, I'm gonna send a DM to you now on school. But the thing is, I haven't heard a guitar solo that loud in any music, like any movie before or seen. Oh, I mean, Crossroads, obviously, but this is, yeah, silly. So annoying. Let's see. There you go, Vinelius. Yeah, but it would even be cooler if I could say the movie, but I cannot. I was so pissed off with my friend because he was like, first of all, he didn't pay me that well initially, and then it's like, well, and he was like, well, it's a good credit. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And also, I did it as half a favor and whatever, but but then he's like, oh yeah, by the way, you can't get a credit. I'm like, why? Well, it's the musicians union. So this was a union movie, and you can't. They're not allowed to have people outside of the musicians union to play on it. And even this guy who's actually listed as he's the were two producers of the soundtrack or the movie score, and he's one of them, right? And he's a drummer, but he wasn't allowed to play on it himself because he wasn't a union member either in Hollywood. So that's how fucking strict it is. So like, all right, he's the composer of the movie, but he's not allowed to play on it because he's not part of the musicians union. So it's kind of silly. So a lot of people think it's some other guy doing it. I was invited to the premiere of the movie here in Stockholm, but I didn't even go because I was a bit pissed off about it. I can send you the link, Vinelius. And it's mixed quite low in the movie, but it's kind of all over the place. Let's see. So Okay, I need to shut the. I know this is riveting streaming. One sec. Hi John, which exercises or approaches did you do to achieve a fast alternate and hybrid picking? You mean as in combining it, or do you mean them separately? So if you can just clarify that. Well, the thing is, right, so I had a student that was, he was like, I want to know exactly what you did and I want to do exactly the same thing. I was like, what? Yeah, I want to do whatever you did to develop your technique. I want to do exactly the same thing. And I said, no. And that's not to try to keep things from people. I just said, I did a lot of stupid shit. So you're saying that even if I would remember exactly everything I did, right, from the day one, it would be so stupid to be like, yeah, first we're gonna go down this completely nonsense road of doing stuff, and then once you've made the same mistake that I did, we're gonna regroup, and then we're gonna go in this direction until we fuck it up over here. So the whole point of getting, learning from someone is to avoid their mistakes, right? And find what worked for them. At least that's my opinion on things. So with that said, I did all kinds of different things. So I can't say like which exercise. I've done a shit ton of exercises. But that's why I put together, when I put together a course, it's because I use the absolute best approaches I found for me. And also I've tried it on tons of students, hundreds of students. And not everyone gets results, but that's because they don't put in the work. And so it's nothing magic here. There's no practice 5 minutes a day for 30 days and then you become Yngwie. That doesn't happen. So, but each and every one who put in the work and actually listened to what I was saying about practicing slowly and being patient and not, doing sloppy stuff when you practice, they improved enormously. So that's the thing. So all I can say is like, it depends on how long have you been playing right now? Have you been playing for longer than a couple of years? Because that's going to affect what kind of advice I can give you. As you can see earlier here, maybe, I don't know when you joined, but if you go to my school, you have an alternate picking thing there. That's perfect for anyone, I would say, that even if you've been playing for a while, because it's going to show you ways to get rid of a lot of bad habits. But especially if you're new to alternate picking, it's a really good start to get the fundamentals right from the beginning. But it depends on where you're at and what you've been doing before. Well, if you want to, Ryan, you know, if you can, I'm not sure you can post links, but you can try it. So Nicola, if you can just tell me where you're at and what you've been doing so far. Daily 10 number 2. Oh, okay. I know. What is this? Hold on. Oh yeah, but that's this one. Do, 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 do. I think the exercises in Frank Amo's Chop Builder, they're good, but I think it's really hard to play along with that. It's too fast, I'd say. So, but you can take each of the exercises and just do it like. Even that is like, you know, quite fast to do. Can't tell you, Ryan. Rhymes with Glock of Smages. Been playing for a couple of years now. Yeah, okay. So in that case, I think you could get a lot out of the course that I'm making people buy it. No, but it's half price now. You have the link in the description. Use Black Week and you get half the price, and also you get the bonus course. With those two together, your 3-note per string picking will be very, 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 very good if you actually put in the work. Yeah, I do. If you go to the classroom of blah, 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 blah. Go to the classroom of the practice room, and then you go to the lesson vault, and then you will find it in there. Well, you can see how you get access to that. It's on Teachable, but you get the solo there. Yeah, exactly. You can't. It's a setting because I don't want to have bots posting shit. So I'm not calling you a bot, Ryan. I love Michael Romeo. He's great. So he's amazing. More questions! I'm gonna noodle your ears away otherwise. Thanks, Ryan. Any last questions? Otherwise, I'm gonna get going. Fucking ass is numb. Drum arc. Do you change your picking technique when playing fast chugging metal rhythm on thicker strings? Angle. Not. I mean, it's picking is picking, right? So it's not really. When Elias, I have a question. I remember you saying 90% of the time should be spent doing perfect reps, while 10% can be speed bursts, etc. Yes. Well, I found that the more speed stuff I do, it's kind of like you build kind of a shaky foundation. I found when if you look at it like a pyramid, you want to have a really strong base, right? You wouldn't put it on its head. So, and I see like the top of the pyramid is doing that. Well, the very top will be like just go for it as fast as you can, and even if it's sloppy, right? Just to try it. But then we have the next level where it's like where it's still, you know, clean and in control, but you just try to do it fast. But since you can't do it, if you could do it up to speed as fast as you wanted to, you wouldn't need to practice it. So this is that kind of a deal, right? But then you have the other thing where you can do more of it, but you do it very slowly and very focused and clear. And also, I'm not going to say this like, oh, it's exactly 90%. That's just an illustration of do more good reps than bad reps, right? And in general, I think people are quite bad at listening to themselves when they practice. So they think like, yeah, I'm clean, man. I don't know what you're talking about. It's super clean, right? So they don't really hear. Let's see. Well, now not a direct question, but if you made a single video, what gear will you use? Oh, thanks, Johan. But the thing is, this is what I use. Like the guitars on the wall here, and then the amp here in question. Amp is the Archetype Petrucci by Neural DSP, and that's pretty much it. And then the picks that I get sent every few months that I'm sponsored by, but I would buy my own picks if I didn't like them. So there would be a very short video. How to perform with confidence when playing in public while my skills are on this plateau waiting to gel. I mean, I had a student that he was in a band and he had to do. I'm getting to your question, Cornelius, as well. He was in a band that was going to perform at Sweden Rock, which is quite a big festival here, like all the big names that play there. But it would like it was like a stage in a tent or something. It was like not one of the big stages, but still kind of nerve-wracking. And I had him, you know, visualize being there and like really feel like how it feels to stand there and like trying to be. And this sounds like woo-woo, but it actually helps, like that mental imagery thing. Because then when you get there, you won't feel as weird because like, oh yeah, I've done this before. So that can help a lot, actually. So reason I'm asking is sometimes I find myself doing too much fast stuff at the end of my workout and sometimes I end up sounding worse than I started. Yeah, but that's the thing. But what I would say, don't worry about, you know, doing some fast stuff, but always end it with like, let's say you're just practicing some alternate picking, just play something cleanly. Not that. So you end it on sort of like a very good clean signal to your brain what you want it to do. And I found that this is really, really helpful. Even if it's just in my head, you know, maybe it's like the placebo effect, but it still helps me to feel better about it. And if I end on like, you know, I'm trying to play something and you're going for it and you completely fuck it up. But it just makes sense to me. If that's the last thing you leave it on that can't be good for you. So it's not going to negate the whole, you know, if you did 2 hours of slow practice, it's not going to negate that, but I think you're better off like... No, you can check yourself every day before you wreck yourself, Cornelius. No, but you can, that's part of the fun. That's like your reward for putting in the work. So I wouldn't wait on doing that, because you can also find that won't like negate the slow work you did, but you need to try, like, all right, what's going on here? Can I do this or not? Right? So, but if you do that, just end on something perfect, and then I think you're good. So, yeah, basically just some reverb and delay, and I have less on here than if I would record a, you know, solo or something. I would have more delay and stuff on, not to be heard, but it sits better in the track. You can try this for yourself. You just take a completely dry guitar, like with distortion, and you play along to a backing track. It really sounds like, you know, oil and water. It doesn't mix at all. But if you add, you know, if you put on any preset on any neural DSP, it's gonna be like, holy shit, there's a lot of reverb and shit on this. But that, it's not really audible when you play to a track, because then it sort of helps it mix better. So. In the Marshall fridge, beer, mainly. The four-notes pattern in John McLaughlin, you mean the stuff like these kind of patterns? Those kind of things, like major 7. It's kind of Gary Moore-ish, but not really. Thing is, I haven't listened much to John McLaughlin, but I have in a way, because I listened to a lot. I was watching, this was like early 90s when it pretty much been playing for less than a year. I was just flipping channels, and my dad had bought like a satellite dish with a motor function, so you got all the different channels. And then on German TV, of all places, they had this the Guitar Trio concert from like the early 80s with Paco, De Miola, and McLaughlin at like fucking peak chops phase. So I've listened to that a lot, but I haven't really listened to Mahavishnu or Chakti and stuff like that. Harold Campos, hello. I know diatonic and pentatonic, major minor, that's about it. What would you recommend to learn to connect these to chords and more melodic playing? One, two, three, four, 5. Oh, that would be that kind of thing. But would he go 1, 2, 3, 4? 1, 2, 3, 5. This kind of deal almost. That's cool. No, that actually sounded quite McLaughlin-esque, but shittier. Sorry about that. Let's see. Well, it depends if you, Harold, if you want to connect this to chord more melodic play, that's chord tones, right? So if you have A minor to D major, to make sure we can go, if you have the minor third, and then you lead it to the third of the 4 chord. Start hitting the chord tones. So But I think what Johan is talking about is more compositional stuff, and then that's also great to learn. But I think as far as guitar playing stuff, one of the best concepts for improvising I know of, and this is, I learned this from Frank Gambale. He even has a course on it, so you check out. It's not that expensive. Called target tones, I believe it's called target notes or target tones. And basically the idea is that on the chord change, so if you change, if you have a chord change every four, even if you just go A minor to D minor, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you practice like, okay, I'm gonna hit the root notes. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just do that super simply at first. So you just want to map out in whatever position you're in the root note for each chord, and then you do the third of each chord. So minor third here and then minor third there, but initially just play them up almost like a bad bass player. So you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're gonna see like, okay, here are my notes, and then you can start adding those because you're so bored. So you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and so on, and you sort of build it that way. But what happens is that as long as you hit a strong chord tone, and that can be, you should go through all of them systematically. So you go actually up to 13. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And certain ones will sound like absolute crap on certain chords. And then okay, I don't like that. But maybe you find your favorite, like, on the 4 chord, I really like to hit this note because that's like the 13 over that chord, but it sounds really cool, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's a great way to do it. Because then you also can build your own opinion on what chord tones do you like. Because just because you like the 9th on the 1 chord doesn't mean that you necessarily will love the 9th on the 5 chord, especially in like in a natural minor key. If I go to E minor here, the 9th would be F, and you have to have a very spicy sense of harmony if you think this is a good tone to land on. So do you know the pentatonic 4 notes per box pattern? Tonic is 1, 2. The pentatonic 4 notes per box. 4 notes? No, maybe I'm misunderstanding you. But I can tell you, it's good to relate these chord tones to pentatonic shapes, because then you will find like, when I go to the minor 6 chord, it's gonna be here. That's not part of the pentatonic scale, but then you will find that it will stick out even more to you. And it's not about just playing pentatonics around it, but it's just getting to know each of these boxes initially, so you have something to relate it to. So otherwise, it can be quite tricky to understand. Trying to learn this song "Amphetamine" by Peter Laughlin, and he used like add 2 and stuff. Well, add 2, that's more like you have 1, 2 flat 3 5, or you have 1 2 3 5. You can also do that. Yeah, but it's there are ways to simplify it, and an approach that I use in playing what you hear, and that's ear training slash getting to know the fretboard course that I have. That's also half off, by the way. Black Week, woo! Anyway, yeah, I didn't want to say the R word, Venelius. He had a retarded sense of harmony. No, but basically a major scale, you can see that as like that, like that, like that. And that's what I call the zones. So zone 1, 2, and 3. And wherever you're at on the fretboard, you're gonna have that, but you kind of have to squint a little bit, because when you're up here, this is still zone 1, but you have to, you know, adjust for the B string, but you have to do that anyway, so there's nothing really changes. You still have 3 notes, 3 notes, 2 notes, like you have here. And zone 2, you still have 2 notes, 3 notes, 3 notes, 2, 3, 3. And zone 3 will be 1, 3, 3, 1. And when you start seeing it like that, it's so much easier to visualize where you are, because whatever note I'm hitting here, if I go, I don't know, this note, and if I see this as a root note, I know exactly where, okay, so this, if I go down now, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that would be zone 3. And then if I continue up here, I have the zone 1. And if I happen to be on this finger, zone 2. That goes into zone 1. So it's very easy when you do it. Well, Harold, check this out. You might find it interesting, and if you do, it's half off now for this week. So, and this basically teaches you solfege and how to hear all this stuff and how to see it on the fretboard, going through all the major scale, minor scale, and all the related modes. So, highly suggest that. So use code Black Week. Well, I think if you don't know the rules and you break them, you don't know that you're breaking them, right? But also I think you can end up reinventing the wheel. I think if you weren't allowed to listen to any music, and then you sit in a room, you probably come out in a year or like 5 years with like, listen to this, guys, and be like, yeah, just a pentatonic. You could have learned that first hour of your guitar lessons. So I think even if you want to be, you know, very unique artist and whatever, I think you're better off learning what came before you and then sort of discarding all that and finding your own way. What was that? Wasn't that Van Gogh who did, like, he like copied a lot of stuff, and he had a, like, amazing technique? I think it was Van Gogh or Picasso, maybe both of them. And then he basically just, you know, started doing his own thing, but he didn't start doing his own thing before he could do others things as well. So I think that's you know, why learning solos and songs and whatever by ear is so helpful. So you can, you know, you can find your own thing that way. Well, no one really has a bad ear. It's just about you need to know what you're listening for and so on. Because if I tell someone like, all right, what song is this? And believe it or not, I've done that with younger students, and they look at me like, huh? So doesn't always work. But if you've heard that song before, you probably would say, oh, that's Smoke on the Water. Even if I would play it up here. Right? So we're not married to the pitch. We just hear things in sort of a context where we recognize sounds, basically. And if you can recognize your favorite songs and say that's my song, blah blah blah, then you have all the prerequisite things to be able to learn ear training to the point where you can go and then just go. That's the root note. That's the sixth, and that's third. Sixth again. That's a flat second. That's minor third. And I'm just relating this to this E string now, right? Because that's my home base. So the only difference in between ear training and I mean ear training in the sense that you can actually hear a melody and be able to play it is you build a library of these solfege syllables or functional intervals, and then you start to be able to decode them when you hear them in music, and then you also need to know where they are on the fretboard, but that's where the zones come in. But that's what the whole course is about. And I think that's probably one of the most important courses I've made, but since it's not about playing faster than the speed of light, a lot of people are not interested. Because they are like, only just get the temps, man. But I'm 100% sure that you cannot play better than your ear is, ever. So, anyway, gotta go. Fun, a lot of questions today. So I like that. But go check out the Black Week thing. I mean, if you don't, it's gonna go up to the normal price later, and I'm sure I'm gonna get some emails like, oh, I missed it. So don't be one of those guys.